I guess, shall I continue and I can talk about my
Steamdeck is
my
like
Steam
a
Deck.
massive lead berry when you mentioned it earlier, because like the second you mentioned it, I was like, oh, the first of the four of us to get involved with the Steam Deck. So Mark,
well, that's not technically true. That's not technically true. Me and Garrett both got our Steam Deck on the same day.
Oh, did you? Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
I didn't even realize he'd actually he'd purchased one, but I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm waiting for mine as well," and we ended up getting them on the same day. So, how about that? Yeah.
So just tell me, how big is a Steam Deck?
This thing, right? The size of it it's kind of preposterous.
Compared to a Switch, is it like way bigger?
Oh, it's way bigger. It's way bigger. Like the screen is absurd. I can't give you like the specific dimensions, but it's like the PS5 of the handheld controllers. But
like a Game Gear compared to a Game Boy kind of thing.
But with that said, it is astonishing how comfortable that thing is to hold. Like the form factor on it, you know, I can imagine Valve spent a lot of time trying to kind of establish, look, we want to be able to have, you know, kind of AAA games play on this thing and have the power to run it. But that also means we need to have the screen real estate for these games as well. And so I imagine a lot of time was just spent on just getting the design of the control scheme kind of comfortable in your hands. And I've not had like a lengthy playtime session. I've played Stray for about half an hour on it, and I've been holding it while I've been doing other bits and pieces, but it is so surprising how comfortable it is for how big it is. I will say, if you have smallish hands, there is a chance that your thumbs might struggle to reach where the analog sticks are, because they're like right at the top of the device. So if you've got smaller hands and you're thinking about getting one of these, try and get your hands on one if a friend has one, and just hold it and see if you can actually get your thumbs to the top of the device, because you might be in for a bit of a struggle there if that's the case. But yeah, this thing is absurd. And also as well, like what's quite nice is that when it's delivered, it comes in a carry case, so you don't have to, you know, buy like a separate one. And the carry case as well is like, you know, if you could climb inside of it, you could probably survive a nuclear explosion. This thing is fucking thick and dense, and you can drop your Steam Deck with it in there, and it's gonna be, you know, cushioned very well. But with those two things combined, my immediate thought is like, there's no way you can fucking travel with that thing. And I know gaming journalists have traveled with it and played it and been on like airplanes and whatnot. And I guess it is possible, but it just doesn't seem like a practical thing to take away. Like
something you can use on a busy underground train then, or something.
Not really, no. Like I've got my Mayu Mini, which is this tiny little thing, and it's perfect for just popping in my pocket and going about my merry day. There's no way you could do that with the Steam Deck. So, you know, like if you want to take it with you and have it in work, I guess, but just don't expect to be able to carry anything else in your bag as well. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Don't buy lunch.
No, but like if you want to have it around the house like I'm going to have, it's going to be such a perfect companion that, like, you know, I don't have to be at my PC to play like a bunch of games that might not be available on Switch yet. So yeah, there's that. Now I pre-ordered mine about 2 months ago now, and obviously this has now changed. I was coming here today to have a whole thing about how the pre-ordering system works, but Valve announced yesterday that they're good to go. Like if you order one, you will have that like ready to be shipped out either that day or the next day, I guess. Which I was not expecting that to be the case. I know that they were getting up to the point where they could fulfill orders like as they came in, but I didn't think it was going to be as quick as they were to get to that point.
What's the price point on this thing that you paid, Mark?
I paid 500 and a bit euro.
Okay.
So
that's quite a pricey chunk.
Well, now I'm paying in euro, obviously, to start with.
Which is about equivalent to pounds at the moment, probably.
True. Yeah, I guess I should consider that now. We do live in a post-Trussonomic society. So there's 3 tiers of this thing, and I have the mid-tier one, which is it's like 256 gigabytes, I want to say, which gives you, you know, the Steam Deck and the Steam OS. I can't remember what the next tier up is, but it does come with a micro SD slot, so I have 128 micro SD card in there as well. Yeah, it's pretty pricey for 512 quid or whatever I paid for it, but like it's a mini PC, you know, it really is a mini PC, and I'm probably going to do a stream with it in the next kind of week or two, where I'm just going to like be kind of tinkering around with it on the stream, and I'm just going to go through like the different parts of it, because I currently have it. There's like 3 things I have to my Steam Deck at the moment, and really with the Steam Deck, what you get out of it really does come down to like what you put in and what you do want out of it. Because if you just want to buy it, load the thing up, and start playing your Steam games, you can do that. That's fine. It does come with a caveat that like the Steam OS is built on a custom version of Linux, which means that not all games are available currently. We are over time going to see more games be like a version is going to be made for Linux, or just more games that come out will have that Linux version ready to go, or that Steam Deck version ready to go. So, you know, every day more games are becoming more available for it. But off the bat, not every single game that you have in your Steam library may work on this particular platform just yet. With that said, there are workarounds, and I'll get to that in a minute. But if you just want to buy this, start playing your Steam games, you can do that, and you can leave it at that, and hey, more power to you. You've bought a pretty good device to do that, to play around the house when you don't want to be at the PC. With that said, there are other things that you can do. So I've got Moonlight, which is a streaming platform. I have that now synced up into my Steam library, which now means I have access to my Xbox Game Pass. With that said, it's not the ultimate PC Game Pass. It's only anything that is cloud-based, which still gives me, you know, a whole bunch of other games that I can get access to. But it does come with a caveat that I have to do that, you know, through the cloud, which isn't the worst thing. Like, you know, there are certain games that I probably will never touch, like kind of cloud-based. But as we were talking about last week, when it comes to Google Stadia, it's like having the cloud platform there as something, as an accompaniment to, you know, like if I'm playing on the Series S and then I stop, I can pick up the Steam Deck and I can carry on playing on there. It's a nice little workaround to have, and I will take it. The other thing, the third kind of part of that is emulation. And, you know, I've gotten into emulation in the last year or so, as you probably know if you've listened to this show at all.
I was going to say the whole podcast got kind of crazy about emulation for a while.
And look, there's a ton of things, different platforms out there, different kind of approaches to using emulation on this thing. There are setups you can use where you can just download emulators directly like through the Steam to desktop OS, and then you can have them as part of your kind of Steam library setup, and then you can like have your ROMs in that way. Or you can do what I've done, which is I've partitioned my micro SD card, and it's basically its own drive now, and I have all of my emulation setup is on that specific SD card. So like when I boot up the Steam Deck, I can have it go to a specific boot drive, and I have it go to this one, and that's where all of my emulation stuff is. And like this thing, you know, I haven't had a chance to play a lot of stuff in the higher categories, and I'm still trying to figure out why the fucking PS2 emulator won't work. But I've got Dreamcast running on it. I've had GameCube stuff running on it, and you know, everything I've thrown at it so far, it's played really well. And I have everything there on like this separate micro SD card, and I just, you know, I can leave it there and have it separate to my Steam Deck or to my Steam OS. Now with that said, like, it's not the easiest thing to get set up, and like the way that I was seeing online people doing it is that you were like, you know, if you're doing Steam to desktop or you're using the emulator and you want to get in there and you want to start fucking around with stuff, like it'll get to the point where you have to use a mouse and a keyboard, which means you need to have a Bluetooth mouse and a keyboard to connect to the deck. But I don't have them, so I'm having to use like FileZilla, and I'm having to, you know, like connect the deck to my PC, the deck to the PC, and then do it that way, which is actually easier because I can do it in real time. But again, it all just comes down to like the thing that you want to do, the approach that you want to have to this is up to you. But like the emulation thing that I'm using is called Batasera, and basically the way it works is it's like a front end that has like a whole bunch of different emulators already kind of set up ready to go. You just bring the ROMs in, And then there are like loads of different kind of themes and skins, and they're really nice. They're really like well put together. And it's a long way away from where I used to be, where I would just have like a whole bunch of different ROMs with different emulators just kind of scattered around the place. Like I now have this front end set up in a way where it's so much more kind of inviting. Like, you know, I'll go through the NES back catalogue, and each game has like a small window of the game showing so I can see what the game is, and it's got like a text or blurb to tell me like what the game is as well. And it's just there's so many different options to choose from as well. So currently, as it's set up, like other than just getting all of my ROMs on there and figuring out why the PS2 isn't working, I'm pretty much good to go. If I wanted to, at some point, I could decide, all right, let's also now do it so I've got Windows running on this thing. And if I get Windows running on it, and it looks like, you know, there's some challenges that come with that, but if I get Windows running on it, well, now I have Steam on Windows, which means I have access to everything. Not everything may work properly, but everything will at least load, and I've got access to the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate on PC as well. So, you know, I've got so many options available there, and it just comes down to how much time I want to put into it. So, you know, it's just yeah, I just need to spend some time and actually play some games on it. That's kind of the one thing I haven't done at the moment.
It kind of sounds like you spent the whole time just setting it up, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a real nice Steam Deck I have there, and then you just haven't played anything on it.
But that's the kind of the thing. Like, if you get any if you get like an Ambernic device or the Retro Pocket or whatever the case may be, you usually will spend the first couple of days just tinkering around with it, getting it set up.
Different with Steam Deck, because you could just go and play games from Steam on there.
Of course. Yeah, no, that's absolutely. I could just do that as well, but it's like, well, I don't. The longer I take to get this stuff set up, like it's just going to be there in the background, and I'll never get around to it. So it's like, I'd rather do it now. Certainly, while Maria's on holiday for a week, I have a lot of spare time to like kind of work on these little projects to get it set up. So, but again, you know, if I did buy the Steam Deck and just started playing Steam games in it, I could just do that. And, you know, I played half an hour Stray the other night, and it's in 720, and like, it's not quite as smooth as like the PC version, but hey, look, it still looks great on that screen. And then again, everything that I've played, I'll tell you what, playing like 8-bit and 16-bit games on that thing, because the screen is so big but it's so clear, it's like the best looking versions of these games that I've you know, played in such a long time. And
I mean,
yeah,
they look pretty good on the Switch, to be fair, the virtual console stuff.
They do as well, but again, it's just the screen is so much bigger than the Switch screen. I imagine the Switch OLED screen looks really nice, but even still, like, this screen is just that much bigger, and there's so much more options around, like, you know, the size that you want it to be, like if you want the visual kind of fidelity, if you want it bilinear, or all those kind of things like this, and you have like different skin templates and stuff like that that you can kind of fuck around with in a way that you can't do that with the virtual console. So like there's so much kind of customization and flexibility here. And yeah, all I'm waiting for now is I ordered a third-party docking station. I ordered it literally the day before Steam announced their official one, but it looks like there's not too much of a difference between these two. So, and my one is like 20 quid cheaper. So once I have that, I'll be able to kind of route HDMI out through it, and then which means I can put it through my capture card, and I'll do a stream with it and kind of like just, I guess, talk more through this, but you know, with it actually kind of there in the background, and we can kind of I can talk through it. And I think what I'll do as well, I saw a while ago Barry did a Twitch stream that he did like a YouTube video, the VOD for it, where he was just talking through like his PS2 emulator that he got running on his Series S, and he didn't kind of talk through how he did it, but he gave like links to everything, and like it was a really good video. And I think I'll probably do something similar to this, where I'll just give links to everything that I've used, and you know, like if people find the video and they have questions, you know, I'll help as best as I can. So so far I really, really like it, and I'm actually just looking forward to now actually like just kind of sitting down and playing with it. But there's so much potential for this thing, and so much to come as well. It's really exciting.
Would you say you prefer setting things up than playing them though?
No, I do enjoy playing. Look, I was playing a bunch of stuff on the Retroid. completed about, like, in the course of a week when Maria was in Porto early this year, I completed about 9 games on the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color in that week. Admittedly, they're all about an hour long. But no, I do like playing video games. But, you know, sometimes you have to put the work in to get them set up. But I do also enjoy that as well. There is something satisfying to that as well.
Okay. Nice. Steamdeck. Recommend?
I would strongly recommend. I doubt that's going to change anytime soon. And my recommendation for it is probably only going to get stronger as the more I spend time with it. And I think, again, the biggest thing is just the fact that you look at the size of it and you just think that is just it's like the original Xbox controller. You know, it's just so obnoxiously large. But you hold it and you're like, fuck me, they've nailed it. They've actually got it right. You know, it keeps surprising me every time I pick it up. I'm like, you motherfucker, how are you this comfortable? It's incredible.
Okay, yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to not spend a lot of money on one, to be honest. But we'll see how that goes.
Look, I don't want to be like that much more of an enabler. You know, I ended up getting you guys to buy a Retro Pocket, which obviously is about 400 quid cheaper.
Yeah, it was 100 odd quid. Like, that wasn't too bad, really, to play some 6 golden coins every now and then, which is what I do with it.
Do you still picking up the Retro Pocket?
Oh, I mean, yeah, like, sometimes if I'm, like, having trouble sleeping or whatever, and I'll just have everything out, like all my lights out, and I'll just be playing old Game Boy games. And it makes me feel like I did when I was like 10, 12 years old, when I was doing a similar thing. Obviously not in the dark, though, because the old Game Boy, you had no backlight on it.
No.
I still have my original Game Boy, and there are like services you can send your old Game Boy off to get it.
Yeah, you get like a backlit in it. Yeah.
Backlit and everything. And I've been tempted by it, but I thought, nah, I think I'll just leave it as is, really. And if I want to play it, I'll play something on the Retroid or, you know, any other emulation stuff.
Was you not tempted by the analog pocket?
I really want an analog pocket. Yeah, it's just it was like you had to wait for whatever it was, 1.5 years or something to get one.
Oh yeah, it was like
by
ridiculous.
the time I got to that, so I was like, do I have 1.5 years?
Yeah.
In 1.5 years, is it going to turn up at my house? And I'm like, what the bloody hell is this? Oh wait, yeah, because I still have all my old Game Boy games and stuff, like whether it's Advance or regular Game Boy or Game Boy Color, they're all still set up there. Got all my old DS and 3DS games as well, so I don't think Analog Pocket plays DS and 3DS, but
it does not.
I would like one. There was some kicking about on eBay, but for like grossly marked up prices. So you never know. When they become easier to get, potentially I might jump on one of those, because the form factor of those things looks beautiful.
Yeah. Well, look, you could buy a Steam Deck today and have it arrive by Monday. Just saying.